Chapter 28 The Rainbow Stick Story. I couldn't resist grinning back at him. We've met before. Too many times to count by now, Madara commented, tossing the sword away and moving towards me. Do you remember them all this life, I wonder? I don't know. Kind of? I mean, I know about them. I was now Mia Mawako Nasika, and do you remember being Sasori? I blinked. Sasori? Then I gasped. I get to be reborn as my boy toy? Madara's lips twitched and he closed his eyes as he shook his head. Not exactly. This must be the life right before Sasori then. Heh. He had reached me by that point, towering over me. He reeked of blood and death, and his Sharingan eyes were spinning idly. Most people would have been terrified out of their mind, but not me. My heart swelled and I reached towards him, gently touching his cheek. You can remember meeting me? This time, yes, Madara said, allowing me to touch him. There's only one Madara after all. You're in the same world, simply resetting it over and over. When we met in your earlier life as now, I didn't realize what I'd gotten myself into. I smiled at him with every bit of affection I felt towards him. But death isn't the end for us, he said quietly. Certainly not for you. In this state of undeath, I have the memories, but I won't in life. You know I love you, right? I know. I can't let you win this war. I'm fine with that, he said, then shifted. That being said, I still have a role to play as the villain. They're working so hard to defeat me, aren't they? This'll be my last chance to toy with Hashi. Hashiwashi? Hashiwashi. The two of us stared at one another for a while longer, both smiling. I felt like I was in the presence of an old and long-time dear friend. First companion, then family, then teacher. Then he took my hand, holding it on his own. Then he took a deep breath and dug his fist in my stomach, knocking the wind out of me. There was a sharp pain in the back of my neck, and all I knew was darkness. Scene change. I woke up effectively tied up and sitting beside Madara while a clone of Hashirama sat opposite us with a smile on his face. I was leaning on Madara, practically curled into his side and feeling disoriented. Then everything rushed back to me and I let out a groan. Ugh. You knocked me out? Hey, Sasori, Hashirama greeted me enthusiastically, scooting closer towards us. Or a Sakura now, right? For now, I told him, looking around. Wait, is that Obito as the Jubi Jinchuriki? Yeah, Madara and Hashirama answered for me. Madara undid my bindings, neatly cutting the rope with a kunai. Once he's defeated, I'll release the seal I had placed over his heart. He'll perform that mass resurrection, effectively undoing everything, and I'll miraculously run out of power and disappear. End of the war and temporary peace is forged between the villages. Etc., etc. Blinking vapidly, I gave him a curious look. Madara shrugged. It's not my first rodeo. Well, this is lovely, Hashirama said with a big smile. I'm so happy we get to meet you before you meet us. I mean, you know. Not entirely, but I can take a guess, I responded. So anything I need to know about the next life? Matty Lo. Madara dug his fist into the Hashirama clone, looking thoroughly pissed. Hashirama clutched at his face and whined. Ugh. So rude. Just save my brothers, okay? Okay, I agreed. I'll be prepared to save some brothers, no problem. Oh, don't try to claim tuberculosis as ibisism again. I will kick your ass if you do, Madara threatened. I would never, I lied. The forest shrine is crazy creepy. Don't let me go into it by myself, Hashirama added. And do not let that stupid thief kidnap you again. Obito was right, the little shit deserves death, Madara snapped. Hashirama giggled, giving Madara a thoroughly amused look. Madara glared hotly at both of us. I mean it, okay. I'll do my best, I settled on. Both boys nodded. I scratched my cheek. So I have this harem, great sage, not this again, Madara bemoaned. I'll join the harem again. Hashirama excitedly said. And Mito would join too. Excellent, I'll count you both as members then. I will never join your harem. Madara snapped at me. Stop asking. Come now, don't be like that. My harem is amazing. Everyone else wants in. Don't you want to fit in? I will hurt you, he threatened. You're already hurting me by saying no. He broke my nose. Why does that feel nostalgic? I questioned as I fixed my nose. Geez, so violent. Oh hey, Obito's about to be defeated, Hashirama pointed out, and sure as shit my little troublemaker was getting pounded into the ground. Give it about 5 minutes for Naruto's therapy no jutsu to kick and then I'll release the seal, Madara dismissively said. Are we forgetting to tell her anything else? Hashirama furrowed his brow as he held his hands and began to count off with his fingers. Shrine Forest insanity check. Save siblings check. Avoid X check. Don't start another harem, Madara added. Ah, but the harem was fun, Hashirama argued. I love my harem sweater. No. No harem, Madara stubbornly said. I think someone needs a grumpy hug, I observed, inching closer. Don't touch me, he hissed, which was just instantly grounds for Hashirama and I wrapping our arms around him and engulfing him in our group hug. Kind of uncomfortable because of his armor, but whatever. I soothed him. There. You'll always be our favorite Uchiha, Hashirama cooed. We love you, I added. I hate you both. Madara threw us off him before snapping out. Don't touch me again, peasants. I have to release the seal now. He did a few hand seals and that seemed to do the trick since Obito immediately started to cast the mass resurrection jutsu. Okay, we're done here, Madara declared. As the white light shone around the two of them signaling the end of the jutsu, they both pulled me towards them. I could feel everyone else's chakra start to converge onto us. They likely believed I was still Madara's hostage and all of their chakras were deeply unsettled and conveyed a sense of worry. Hashirama hugged me tightly, kissing the top of my head and rubbing my back. All of my friends had arrived then and Naruto shouted, Sakura-chan. Hashirama let me go and I turned towards Madara. He smirked at me, pulled me close and gave me a chaste kiss. I gasped, my hands flying up to my mouth. You stole this life's first kiss. Fair's fair, Madara said, a wide grin on his face. Feel free to keep swearing in my name this life too. Well duh. See you later, peasant. Then the white light covered both of them and they were gone, leftover corpses falling down to the ground in their wake. Then Naruto body tackled me into the ground with a cry of Sakura, are you okay? I love you, I wheezed despite my ball of sunshine apparently breaking my ribs in his concern. Sorry for worrying you. Why did Madara kidnap you? Sasuke suspiciously asked as he caught up to Naruto. He killed everyone else. He wanted my booty. Kakashi was the next to come to my rescue, warily looking at me. I can't say I'm surprised anymore. Nothing surprises me anymore when it comes to you. Then would you be surprised if I asked you to join my harem now? I cheekily asked him, grinning widely. Obito's gonna join after he tells me the story. Kakashi looked up at the early morning sky, let out a long sigh, then said, I want weekend brunches made for me for the rest of my life, deal. And a hand-knit sweater, he sniffed. Double deal. I did a little dance in place as more of my friends showed up to see that I was somehow not stabbed to death by Madara. None of them seemed shocked by that, only mildly curious. Except Tenzu, who flatly told me the most evil shinobi in history who murdered hundreds prior chooses to spare you? Why? And why did Hashirama-sama tend to you? I appreciate your concern, but Hashirama is a loyal harem member and Madara accepts me as his fangirl. I consoled them. I was in no real danger. Now before I hug and kiss all of you, there's something I have to take care of first. It would have been amusing to fabricate some dramatic story about how the three of us were secretly engaged or something, but I remembered I had to deal with something first. Namely, I had to get my rainbow stick story before a certain good boy move on. So I hopped away from my friends and headed over to where Obito laid entirely alone and abandoned. Obito was dying. The resurrection jutsu had too high of a toll. Canonically, he had stayed on sheer willpower alone, but there was no need to linger. He didn't want to linger. So he laid on his back tired and dying. I sat beside him tenderly taking his hand. I could save him if he wanted to be saved. But I didn't think he wanted to. He turned a weary gaze onto me, cracking a half smile. I believe I owe you a story before I go. Although it's likely not as grandiose as you might think. It's still a story worth telling, I insisted. It's a story worth repeating. He fell silent for a moment, then he shakily forced himself up. Using nearly the last bit of his chakra, he used his kamui to pull out an ordinary stick. You already know what happened to me. Yes, Matty Harem saved you, shared his corruption with you, and left the Akatsuki to you. Obito lifted his head up to the starry sky above. In that cave I started to have this recurring dream. I was someplace near the ocean, but it was entirely black. I could hear the ocean waves, but for the longest time I couldn't see anything. A place in between here and there. But after some time I saw a butterfly, he said softly, almost gently. I woke up before anything else happened for quite a while, but eventually I was able to follow it. It was rather pretty with clear wings that had snow dust falling off it, and it glowed with an unnaturally warm and gentle light. He fell silent again and I held my breath as I waited for him to speak once more. It led me somewhere kind. I'm not sure how to explain it, but it would always lead me to this kind of forest. I would physically wake up there, but I could never find out where it was. If I walked in any one direction for too long, it would take me back to the tree I woke up under. In order to leave, I had to use my Sharingan. For 2 months this continued. I would wake up under the tree and the butterfly would leave me. But then, someone else started to sit with me. I never knew her name, but she was kind. She had green eyes a bit like yours, but her hair was brown and her skin darker. I could never talk, could never stay there for too long since something always called me back, but... Obito looked down at the stick. I took this stick. It's the only physical thing I have to tell me I'm not crazy. You aren't crazy, I whispered, words spilling out of my mouth as I leaned forward to wrap my arms around him. Mia kissed the top of his head and said with all the love she could give, "You're not crazy. I just didn't want you to feel alone and to remind you that I'll always be waiting for you." What? Obito asked, startled by this change. It's okay, we soothed him. You'll understand soon enough. He was still silent as a grave and he clutched onto that little stick so tightly it trembled. And then he remembered. And he held us so tightly as tears spilled over his eyes. I'm sorry, I forget, he whispered, his voice cracking. He was shaking and our shoulder and neck was growing wet with each second as he cried from the weight of what was and what would be again. Happiness was found for him just as sadness kept him company. Again and again and again. Am white little now, my dear Mia, my demon princess. We squeezed him, our eyes burning and our heart aching with grief and love so terribly strong it was almost too much to bear. It's okay, we told him. I don't want to leave you, he confessed, the words muffled against my neck. You won't. We kissed his head and tried to comfort him. Because you'll remember now and you'll come with us. Promise? Promise. It means we aren't alone anymore. I'm tired, he whispered, voice cracking. I'm so tired. Then sleep, love, Mia cooed. And wake up in that forest where I'll be waiting. He clung onto us, this worn-down old soul, and he fell silent. It didn't happen right away, it took some time, but in between one heartbeat and the next Obito stopped breathing. That was okay though. The story was told. We would meet again and again, and we would find that perfect happy ending again and again and again. Scene change. What was there to say after the war? Everyone who died was brought back. Clean up was a bitch. I was tired. Emotionally and physically drained. I had witnessed their deaths plenty of times and I had died plenty of times, but it could still be exhausting. I wish I could do more. We returned to Konoha and I wasted no time in going back home, collapsing onto my bed and hugging Brightheart for all the energy I had to spare. I needed time to put myself back together. Unfortunately, I didn't have that opportunity right away. There was a shift in the air. X took a seat on the bed, a minor head tilt in my direction as a greeting. Mia's fond memories of him put a smile on my face as I sized him up. As always, he was cloaked head to toe in black gear a thief would wear. He kept a mask on with an X over it, the reason for his name. "Hey, wife of mine," he greeted cheekily. "I thought I asked for a divorce." I immediately retorted before my eyes widened. "Wait, you remember?" "Bit more than you now," he said. "I'll see you in your final life here, sweet cheeks. Bit of advice before you move on though, learn how to build a home with nothing." "Learn how to build a home with nothing," I repeated back, committing this to memory. I cocked my head curiously at him. "Do we meet for the first time in my final life too?" "That's right," he confirmed. "Treat me well." "With an ass like that, how could I not?" I shrugged. "So do I get an adventure with you this life, or were you saving all that for Mia?" He looked me up and down. "I'll come back when you're physically older." "Damn physical age," I sighed. He patted the top of my head. "Yep. See you later, pretty bird." Scene change. The war ended with 0 casualties. Konoha finished reconstruction within that year. Naruto started training to be the next Hokage, and I set to work on creating my cafe. And for the first time in a long time, there was no plan I had to set in motion. There was no scheme, no future event I had to prepare for. I woke up, spent time with my friends and loved ones, flirted with Kisame, and worked on my dream cafe. Mornings were slow and quiet and evenings were relaxing and peaceful. There was on rush or worry. Our happy ending had finally arrived. The least we could do was enjoy it, right? Chapter 29 Epilogue. On the outskirts of Konoha was an orchard lined up with several different types of trees. It took over what was once known as the Senju compounds, as well as several other smaller districts that were ruthlessly bought out several years ago by a red and green-eyed man. Inside the orchard were apple trees, peach trees, cherry trees, orange trees, tea trees, pines, and patches of strawberry bushes and rhubarb. At the front of the orchard sat a tea shop heavily decorated in cutesy artwork, flowers, and pastel colors. There were plenty of tables seated out front that was filled with merrily chatting family members. Stepping inside the tea shop, one would first be greeted by an ethereally handsome man. He was the maitre d', a man by the name of Itachi. He had been working at the tea shop since its very beginning. He was one of the first to arrive and the last to leave every day. There were some rumors that he had been tricked into the job at first, but nowadays it was plain to see the man enjoyed the gentle atmosphere of the shop and the heavenly sweets it held inside. One of the other constants about the tea shop was the head chef, who had been personally trained by the owner. There had been a time when the chef was a feared swordsman, but the regular guests would only laugh about such a thing. He might have been a tall blue-skinned man with shark-like teeth, but he expertly made such dainty and cute treats. How could anyone think such a renowned baker was a feared swordsman? Kisame certainly did nothing to disprove it. He hadn't meant to become Gardenia's head chef, it just kind of happened. He remembered vaguely Sakura enthusiastically begging him to make one teeny tiny dessert with her for her birthday. He really had nothing better to do, so he agreed. That was over 10 years ago. Gardenia had other staff members, of course, but Itachi and Kisame were the two constant members at the main location. Like Kakuzu predicted, Gardenia was a booming success. He had no trouble persuading the owner Sakura to expand into a catering business. From there he bribed her, through means neither disclosed, to open up ventures in other towns and allow him to take a percentage of their revenue. Haku had trained under Sakura for 3 years before opening up the second location of Gardenia in Kirigakure. Matsuri trained for 2 years before setting up shop in Sungakure and frequently returning to renew her apprenticeship with Sakura. The poor girl was head over heels for the pinkette. Sakura had even somehow managed to entice Kumogakure's original secretary Mabui into entering an apprenticeship under Sakura before opening another shop in Kumogakure. To the current day, there was a competition being held in Iwagakure for the valued spot of Sakura's latest baking apprentice. The winner would not only learn about Sakura's baking style, but also have the prestigious honor of opening up a gardenia shop in Iwagakure. With such a booming business, finding waiters and waitresses wasn't difficult. The prospect of one free meal a day was enough to capture the hearts of most staff members. Unfortunately, keeping them was the problem. For reasons Itachi and Kisame couldn't understand, not everyone could tolerate Sakura's behavior for prolonged periods of time. Madness. So when things were tight, there was really only one group of staff that Sakura could call on. Her harem. The Sakura harem had grown over the past decade. Her tenacity was something to be admired, and many found it hard to turn down her baked goods. Some were charmed by her eccentric personality, and others simply too flustered to do anything else but say what the heck, why not? Her harem started off slow at first, before exploding in growth after her 18th birthday. Her birthday party was one for the history books. One for the 18-plus only history books. Let's just say her hallucinogenic poisons were thoroughly tested that day. It became common knowledge that powerful figures were members of her harem, shooting it up in prestige. When the feudal lord of Spring Yuki bragged about the perks of being a member, Konoha was flooded with fans begging to join the harem. As much as Sakura wished she could accept them all, she had to acknowledge she only had so much time in her day to hand-knit so many sweaters, even with the help of shadow clones. What a pity! Sakura's harem wasn't the only noteworthy event of the decade. Peace was, kind of, established between the major shinobi villages. The current Kages all worked hard to further build their positive relationship. Amigakure was a surprising mix to throw in. With the Akatsuki being officially pardoned, Nagato stepped out as Amigakure's new leader. Through a variety of uncanny coincidences, Nagato's new Akatsuki members were required to help the major shinobi villages again and again and again. Purely through happenstances. There was no insane pinkette behind the scenes causing the type of chaos only Akatsuki members would be able to help with. Nope. Definitely did not happen. As a result of the Akatsuki helping out the other villages so much through coincidences, they insist they were able to raise Amigakure up to the status of a major village. As congratulations for their rise, Sakura had personally set up a gardenia shop there that had a side business of mass-producing scented candles and oils. Pine was the best seller. Unsurprisingly. Although there was an ongoing heated debate, war really, amongst Sakura's harem members over the best smell. Yuki and Kakuzu were both adamant that moonlight snowdrops were the best scent, and they conspired to ruin all the pine candles in stock. Until Deidara and Sasori accidentally foiled their plan when they were conspiring to make summer fireworks the best scent ever. It went without saying that Haiden fought valiantly to make Bloody Evening the best scented candle to have ever existed, but he fell victim to Nagato and Gaara's scheme to propel Cottonwood Cottage as the #1 bestseller. Then Itachi and Kisame stepped in to turn Tranquil Lake into the greatest scent ever, and it was just sheer madness from there on out. It was a quiet war unlike ever fought. The gossip mill was overrun by sheer nonsense, and there were days where those who competed were so paranoid about retaliation they couldn't step a foot outside. The candle war was still ongoing, unfortunately. Shots were randomly fired, and the last one was caused by Karen and Hinata teaming up and literally setting all the stock on fire, except their beloved cherry blossom kisses. Yuki and Kakuzu ended up hitching to ensure their alliance to moonlight snowdrops. Or so Kakuzu insists. Yuki claims he finally fell for her charm and persistence. Who's to say who was right? Yuki. Yuki was right. Course they weren't the only couple to hitch in the Candle War. Kimimaro and Yugo eloped after finding out they both loved Lavender Falls and each other. Oh, Candle War, when will you end? But those were the major highlights over the past 10 years. There were some minor drama in between, and Sakura successfully nabbed some alien booty for her harem, but that tea wasn't ready to be spilled. Scene change, ending 1. I tapped my foot to the beat of music playing on the radio, whisking the caramel as I did so. The crocumbush tower I had prepared was nearly complete. All that was left was to begin stacking it with the caramel glue. It would be a massive tower at 2.5 meters, around 8 feet. It had taken me throughout the night and morning to prepare the delightful pastries. Although some of that time had also been spent on the 100-layered marbled cake. These 2 towering desserts would be lovely centerpieces for the party I was preparing for. I had shut down my cafe to host it, gleefully sending out invites to all guests weeks prior. Naruto, as the Hokage, closed off the nearby roads to prevent innocent civilians being roped into the madness that was about to ensue in just a few hours. After all, it was the 10-year anniversary of my harem. Okay, technically, I started my harem at 12 with Haku, but I didn't have enough official members until after the war, so, after a Loang vote amongst the harem members, we set the official date for my 16th birthday. And also my 26th birthday, but who cared about that when it was harem party time? Hinata entered my kitchen and without missing a beat she cheerfully said Boruto and Himawari are with my father for the weekend. Sasuke and Kakashi are nearly done getting Naruto caught up on paperwork, so he should be here. Excellent, I declared. My beloved waifu, won't you please assist me in this crocumbush? But of course Hinata giggled. How's the rest of the food coming along? Kisame's got most of it taken care of, but Hakumabui and Matsuri will be bringing more later. You can't have too much food at a party. Very true, she agreed. Have you picked out which cake you're going to jump out of? Yeah, I was thinking the one Karen made with the sakura petals. It seems very fitting. Hinata nodded, accepting the massive bowl of caramel from me as I dug out some non-stick spoons from one of my drawers. You'll look lovely. Aw, thanks, I gushed. I'm gonna flip a coin on what I'll be wearing though. Of course. Then you decided between 2? Birthday suit or tuxedo, I cheerfully answered. 2 very difficult choices, Hinata remarked. Yes. The birthday suit will get the most reactions, but tuxedo is such a classy choice and everyone knows I'm a classy gender-fluid embodiment of chaos. Hinata only smiled sweetly since there was no possible way she could refute that explanation. We got to work on stacking the crocumbush our kunoichi speed, coming in handy to rapidly build it within an hour. We chatted while we worked, Hinata happily bragging about her children while I listened with great attention. As their godmother, it made only sense that I knew about my godkids, right? Although for some reason Boruto kept trying to run away when I came around. It was so strange. Couldn't imagine why. Probably just a shy sweetie, I had concluded to myself. Karen and Yuki came by next with the cake I was supposed to jump out of. Karen had done an excellent job of making it look like a real cake, even I couldn't tell at a glance it was a fake cake. Both Karen and Yuki had no issues helping me set up for the party at the cafe. We pushed out all of the food. Haku and Matsuri were already in the back laying out their own food they brought, then started to decorate with streamers, balloons, booby traps, hidden sprinklers, and so on. We were definitely leaning to a pastel theme in terms of colors and decor. Pastel only just barely won out over hard rock metal in the committee vote, but hey, gotta give what the people want, right? When the decorations were all set up, there was only one thing left to do before everyone else arrived. "Welp," I said with a big smile. "Time to pick the outfit. Heads will be birthday suit, tails will be a tuxedo." I flipped the coin and it landed on, scene change. Hiding inside the cake was not as comfy as one might assume. It was cramped, a little chilly, and I was ravenous. I had forgotten to make any food for myself to eat while I focused on the croquembouche and the 100-layered marble cake. I listened quietly as one by one or two by two they arrived. I felt Kakashi's chakra outside the cake and the poor man sighed loudly. "Please be wearing clothes. I'm not giving myself away and spoiling the surprise that easily," I stubbornly thought to myself. "Who, me?" I heard Naruto's confused response to Kakashi's question. I think I'm wearing clothes." Idiot, Sasuke sighed. "Don't worry, dear, you're wearing clothes," Hinata assured him. Phew. Kakashi had me worried there for a second. Damn it. Who put the exploding paint booby trap by the booze? Hayden howled from a distance. Karen started to innocently whistle. "You shouldn't be near the alcohol anyway, we have to wait for Sakura's annual speech," Yuki scolded Hayden. "I'm sure it'll just as lovely as last year," Haku loyally added. "And now that everyone is here, she'll arrive shortly." My cue. I jumped out of the cake, arms spread wide open as I grinned victoriously at my harem. "Hey everyone! Let's get this party started." Ending. So, was it heads or tails? Final harem members: Kakashi, Naruto, Sasuke, Obito, X, Hinata, Kiba, Shino, Lee, Tsunade, Shizune, Kimimaro, Yugo, Shikamaru, Ino, Choji, Gaara, Kankuro, Temari, Matsuri, Haku, Zabuza, Mei, Guren, Imabui, B, Yuki, Nagato, Konan, Kisame, Itachi, Hayden, Kakuzu, Sasori, Deidara, Tonari, Kurama. Kind of. Scene change. Ending 2. The twins were put to bed after a long day of playing with the puppies. They were gently tucked into bed, the boys rubbing their eyes sleepily and murmuring about wanting to play some more. Brightheart laid beside them, an old guardian meant to watch over the toddlers. When they would cry at night, she would pull them into one bed and curl around them. Her soft fur was always a comfort to them, and they always sought her out when confronted with something new or scary. I lingered in the doorway of their room a few moments longer before smiling to myself and heading out to our back patio. Our home was on the orchard of the cafe. I always wanted a big yard. It was decent work to tend to, but it was absolute heaven compared to going on missions. I'd gone on enough missions to last me lifetimes. A farming life was something I much preferred. Kakashi felt the same. He had seen more than enough. Even if he did not always remember, he had plenty of scars to encourage early retirement. He liked the orchard, starting up a small sheep farm and getting into hand knitting with the wool he collected. It was such a marvelous process to watch him work. The antithesis of what a shinobi was. Instead of hands stained red with blood, they would be stained with dyes of his favorite colors as he made sweaters for our family. And occasionally members of the harem, since they were essentially part of the family too. The kids loved all their uncles and aunts who fought over guardianship with them. Naruto and Hinata currently had reigning rights, but a hand ghosted over my round abdomen. Yuki and Kakuzu are competing against Yugo and Kimimaro for our little Riri's guardianship right. We already had the preliminary rounds. Haku has always won the right as a substitute guardian in the event both Kakashi and me and the winning guardians perished. Next week we would be holding the all-out prank war to decide on Riri's guardian. Goggle gods, I hope it'll be a bloodbath. Not literally, because of the trauma of the Candle War still deeply troubled me, but I was at least part of a demon princess and my sadism must be satisfied. I found my husband on the deck. He had a pile of freshly clipped wool that he was meticulously roving and dumping into a clean wicker basket. He glanced back at me as I slowly took a seat beside him. It was a quiet, cool night. Due to the lack of technology in the Narrativerse, there was no difficulty in seeing the vast amount of twinkling stars. The stars, I blinked once and they reminded me of the kaleidoscope. In these moments of silence I took comfort in his presence. My existence wasn't always something I cherished. It was both a blessing and a curse, and like the seasons change, so too did my perspective on it. I had bad days, I had good days, and I had days like this acceptance. I leaned into him, closing my eyes and letting out a soft sigh. He didn't respond. He knew I'd speak if I was ready to. I listened to him pull the wool apart as he roved, the sound soothing to me. I'm going to die, I said after a long moment, these words ringing painfully true. And when I wake up again, I won't get to see you again. He didn't speak right away. Kakashi knew I had past lives. It was difficult to hide the fact from my spouse of over a decade. The flashbacks and triggers couldn't be explained away, no matter how hard I tried. I was grateful he didn't ask for the details. I didn't think I could stomach telling him what I had done to him. You will, Kakashi told me. How can you be so sure? I asked him. Because he said gently, placing down the tools and wool as he looked up at the starry sky. I'll follow you. When you wake up again, I'll be there. Do you promise? My voice trembled, a curdle of hope rising inside of me. He turned to me, smiling with his eyes as he held up his pinky. Always. I hooked my pinky through his. Always and always? Always and always, he promised me, ending always and always. Bonus: at a glance one might find them strange. He was a tall man with an intimidating face, all sharp teeth, narrowed yellow eyes, and a presence similar to that of a starving shark. She was a small woman with a delicate frame, soft baby pink hair, and sparkling green eyes filled with warmth. Such two contrasting figures shouldn't be seen together. Indeed, a few passerby civilians had been concerned about the Pinkette's safety. The civilians would linger, watching them for several minutes in fear of something horrible happening. What they would find instead was two people smiling kindly at one another and laughing quietly over things they couldn't hear. They would see the man open the door for her, and she would blush and smile with such infectious joy the onlookers could not help but feel at ease. The more anyone watched the two, the more blatantly apparent it was there was a genuine love there. The two moved and breathed in sync, each action a reflex from being so in tune with their partner. There was a level of comfort and intimacy a human could not achieve easily in one lifetime. There was love between them. Love so sincere and powerful no one could find the strength to voice their previous prejudice against them. Because if anyone saw them together for more than a minute, they could not deny what was there. The couple were once seen as an oddity, but the years marched on and their affection for one another did not dwindle. She still looked at him like he hung the moon, and he showed her a smile saved just for her. Happy and in love, they would stay for many, many years in a world finally at peace. Chapter 30: Bonus Quest for Alien Booty. This was the story of how I achieved alien booty for my harem. It all started at a wedding boutique. Why am I here? Sasori asked, a level of exhaustion in his tone not often heard. It was a valid question. Ino, Hinata, Karen, and I had gotten together for a nice girls' night. One thing led to another, and in the morning we decided to go to a bridal shop to try on wedding dresses. Because why not? Sasori had moved in with me after the war the same day Kimimaro moved out to live with Yugo. The puppet master insisted it was for the greater good of the world, because if I was left alone, who knew what I would get up to? It was not at all because the grumpy man was lonely and had grown used to my company and affection. He was very adamant about that last part. We need a groom, I answered cheerfully. And you look so cute. There's no one else we can really ask either, Ino added, doing a twirl in her wedding dress. As an artist you can appreciate beauty. I appreciate eternal beauty. Weddings are fleeting. The marriages that last always end in death, Sasori said flatly. But they're pretty, I said. I took Ino's hands and we spun around. And isn't this fun? Spinning in pretty dresses is the best. Hinata took a dainty sip from her champagne glass. Would you like to try a dress on, Sasori-san? Sasori's sheer look of no made me cackle and the other girls giggled. I wonder if I should do a wedding theme for one of the harem anniversary parties, I mused. The official day to celebrate my harem was on my birthday starting from when I was 16 since that was the legal age of adulthood in that world ignoring shinobi rank. The first harem anniversary was quite the get-together. Although the one that had just passed my 18th birthday was one for the history books. I warned everyone beforehand that I would be adding mystery concoctions hidden inside the food and drinks, each one causing a different reaction. Some were hesitant to try it, but peer pressure won over, and within an hour after dark everyone invited was either wasted or trippin' and strippin'. I did hire a few sober people to babysit. People that out of their mind couldn't really consent, you know? Wanted to make sure no one did something they'd regret. But damn, was it hella fun. So many pictures. So many memories. My next one would have to be grand. A themed one would be fun, Karen remarked, fixing her glasses. She had a sly smile on her face and she discreetly wiped at her nose. Seeing Itachi-san in a maid uniform would be fun. I beamed. Itachi and Kisame worked at my bakery in Konoha. I had taken on a couple of apprentices, Haku from Kirigakure and a sweet girl from Sunagakure, who finished their training last month and went on to open their own bakeries in their villages. Itachi was ordered by Sasuke to repent for his lies by working at my bakery. He obliged. I ruthlessly took advantage of it. I couldn't always get him to wear every uniform I picked out, but I did get him into cat ears every Monday. Mostly because Mondays were dedicated animal days and I invited members from the Nico clan under the Uchiha clan. They were so cute. I loved watching them drink warm milk like it was sake and talk about various cat things. The cat ears headband let us communicate with them comfortably, and that was the only reason Itachi would be willing to indulge. He looked spiffy in the butler outfit the rest of the weekdays except Friday because that was the designated kimono day. The bakery was closed on the weekends because I didn't want to work on the weekends, although my customers insisted I'd make a lot of money if I did. Since I didn't really care about money, their arguments fell flat. "Ah, I love this dress," exclaimed as she stepped in front of a mirror and admired herself. There was a reason marriage was on our brains last night. The day before we had all visited Kirigakure to attend Zabuza and Mei's wedding. It was a lavish affair with nearly everyone in Kiri invited. Mei was absolutely stunning in her wedding dress. When we had our girls' night last night, we couldn't help but admire how lovely she looked, and then I brilliantly suggested we try them out for ourselves. What did it matter? Hinata was the closest one to getting married out of all of us. She and Naruto had started dating shortly after the war ended. Ino and Karen were single and ready to mingle, and I had my harem. Sasori sighed loudly. This is ridiculous. Ladies, he's right. We should get our dresses custom made, I said. They cheered. Sasori sighed again. Come on, Sasori-sen, Ino encouraged. You're the only one who can be objective here. You know beauty, don't you? Of course I do, he said. Ugh. Petulant women. Fine. You want my opinion? None of what you picked out suit you. We gasped, scandalized. I'll be right back, he said, and off he went to hunt down some dresses. Had to say he had better taste than we did. We rocked it 10 of 10. Scene change, I decided to purchase my dress and headed over to Kakashi's apartment. Sasori followed behind me, undoubtedly anticipating what was to come. Kakashi had moved back into the Umbu complex after the war. Without Danzo or the Akatsuki threatening me, there was no reason for him or the tree baby to live with me. The ex-Umbu captain valued his privacy and fled home with glee. That didn't stop me from spontaneously visiting. We still saw each other on an almost daily basis. He always came to the bakery for breakfast in the weekdays if he wasn't on a mission. Team 7 made it a point to get together twice a month for barbecue as well. I used my spare key to get in. Kakashi was tired of me destroying his locks, so he made me a key, and then I waited with eager anticipation. Kakashi returned home right on time. I had his routine memorized. If he wasn't on a mission, he was training the new Umbu recruits. He saw me. He saw the wedding dress. He paled. Today's a special day, say Ensei. I cooed. He turned on his heel and sprinted away. I laughed loudly and Sasori chuckled. Oh goggle gods, did you see his face? I wheezed with laughter, clutching at my gut. Aw, that was so worth the purchase. Your evil Sasori informed me with a cold smile. Downright atrocious. Thank you. I sang. Come on, let's go home. I've had my fun. I skipped out into the hallway and stopped short when I saw a familiar Umbu. Sasuke. Sasuke Uchiha had joined the Umbu the same time Naruto started training under Tsunade to take over as the next Hokage. That was a typical outcome anytime Sasuke returned to the village and Tsunade wasn't exhausted by the war. If Tsunade was too taxed, Kakashi had to step in as the temporary leader. Thankfully for this life, Madara was a gracious enemy and didn't push them that far. Tsunade was able to keep her position and started to train Naruto take over when he turned 20. Sasuke entered the Umbu gunning for the Umbu commander position. He didn't want anyone else to go through what he did with his clan, and who better to prevent that than him? And I think he just genuinely wanted to. He didn't have much direction with his vengeance completed outside of keeping Itachi alive and healthy. Sasuke sincerely liked his job as a shinobi. He liked training. He liked power. Most of all, he liked feeling like he was protecting his precious people. There was no better position than Umbu commander aside from Hokage, and Naruto would already won that spot. Sasuke, still in his Umbu gear, stared at me in my wedding dress exiting Kakashi's apartment. I winked at him. He let out a loud derisive snort. You traumatized him, didn't you? He may or may not be too scared to come home for a bit now. Sasuke's lips twitched. Should I congratulate him now? If you do that, we might gaslight him into thinking I gasped. Duck, but you brilliant bastard. I have my moments, he said graciously. Scene change. I declared an emergency meeting at the Hokage's office with Naruto, Sasuke, Hinata, Sasori, and Sai. Sasori wasn't part of Team 7, but he was my roommate, so he was obligated to participate in all of my shenanigans. See that moon? I said as I pointed to the growing closer moon. It had become noticeably larger over the past couple of months. That's the sign that alien booty will descend upon us. Naturally, said Sai. What other reason could there possibly be? Sasuke quietly asked. Why are you in a wedding dress? Naruto asked. I want that alien booty for my harem, I continued on. Did you get married without telling me, your best friend? Naruto asked, starting to sound offended. I was there, Sasuke mildly put in. Shut up. I'm still mad at you for abandoning us. I've been back longer than I was away, Sasuke argued. Abandoner. I clapped my hands together. Returning to my very important point about the alien booty I want. Sorry, go on, Naruto apologized. Does the alien have a dick advocate yet? Sai questioned. I don't know, I admitted. We can ask. Anyway. That alien booty is going to try to marry Hina-chan first. Pardon? Hinata asked. How could you get married without wait, what? Naruto yelled. Hina-chan, can you wingman for me? I asked her, giving her my big ol' pleading eyes. Hinata smiled. Yes, Sa-chan. Leave it to me. What do you know about Alien-san? He's so friggin' hot. Naruto squinted suspiciously. How hot? Not hot enough to steal Hina-chan from you, but hot enough that if Madara-sama didn't exist I might have sworn by his hotness instead. Wow, said Naruto. Hot man. Anyway, Naruto and I will crash his wedding with Hina-chan. I'm gonna kick his ass if he does anything, Naruto calmly said. I couldn't resist giggling halfway through at that. And I'll do my best to persuade him into my harem. But before that, the reason I'm in a wedding dress. I went to Kakashi's apartment. I remembered Kakashi's face of traumatized shock and burst out into laughter. She might have misled him to thinking they were going to get married, Sasori explained on my behalf while I was bent over laughing. Without me? Naruto whispered. I have been betrayed. Hina-chan. Hinata patted Naruto's shoulder. I think I know where his is going. You want us to mislead Kakashi into thinking the wedding will be for you too, when in actuality you plan to use it to bring Tonari into the harem? I gave her 2 thumbs up. You want us to lie, trick, and traumatize our beloved teacher for shits and giggles? Naruto asked. Of course we will. Great plan, Sasuke said with a smirk. This will be interesting to watch, Sai happily added. Evil, Sasori remarked with a smile. Truly, utterly evil. Scene change. Hinata waited patiently to get kidnapped. She sat on a swing alone in a park at night. She hummed a merry little tune. She was curious what alien sand would look like for Sakura to swoon over him. She also wondered why alien sand would want to marry her. Sakura told Hinata he was lonely and misunderstood, but she said the same thing about Madara and he was a psychopath. Although Madara did kiss Sakura and seemed genuinely fond of her when they met in the war, so maybe he wasn't that bad? Hinata would bet alien sand would be the same. How could he not? She loved Sakura. She was warm, bubbly, hilarious, and so kind. She hoped the alien would be as nice. Sakura told Hinata that alien sand was drawing the moon closer to the planet to try and destroy the world. She said he was acting out of a misunderstanding over his brother's will. Sakura drew a map to where Hinata could guide alien sand to a graveyard. Sakura also prepared a letter explaining everything to alien sand. All Hinata had to do was give him the gift basket and take him to the graveyard when he asked. Well, she also had to keep him company for a few days to try and convince him that Sakura was an amazing person and he really should to join the harem. What are you singing? Hinata looked up. A pale man stepped out of the shadows. He had shaggy white hair and kept his eyes closed. She supposed he was nice enough looking, although compared to Naruto's smile he might as well have been a pile of garbage. Hinata smiled patiently. A favorite lullaby. Who are you? He stepped out of the shadows and into the light illuminated by one of the park's lampposts. I'm Tonari. I've come for you. Okay, Hinata agreed. She stood up from the swing and brushed off the bits of snow. She almost startled as a second presence appeared behind her. You come willingly? My best friend asked me to, she said. Tonari tilted his head inquisitively. I do not understand. My best friend Sakura-chan asked me to go with you when you came, she said. She predicted your arrival perfectly. She's very fond of you. Who? Tonari's brow creased. Sakura-chan, said Hinata. How does she know me? It's one of her gifts. Hinata lifted a basket that had been at her feet previously. I was also asked to give you this. What is it? Tonari accepted the basket. A gift basket. Sakura made everything herself. I see. Shall we leave now? Ah yes, let us depart. Scene change. The next morning Team 7 was called to Tsunade's office. Kakashi, Naruto and I bumped into each other outside the building. Congratulations, Kaka-sensei, Naruto said, clapping Kakashi's back. Kakashi's only visible eye narrowed. For what? You know, said Naruto. Hey Sakura. You looked beautiful in that wedding dress. I beamed. Ah, thank you. Congratulations, Naruto said. I'm happy for you. Kakashi cleared his throat. What? You know, said Naruto. And no, you can't possibly. Kakashi looked between us, he paled by the second. Isn't this nice? Sasuke cut in as he shoeshined beside me, a smug smile on his face. Team 7 together again. Congratulations, by the way. Thank you, I said while Kakashi rubbed his forehead. You guys are messing with me. Clearly, he said. Congratulations, Sakura, said Sai as he joined us. There was a pause of silence. No, said Kakashi. Not falling for it. Falling for what? We innocently asked. Come on, let's go see what this mission is, said Naruto. Scene change, with Hinata and Tonari were seated beside one another, a plate of macarons in front of them. They had returned from visiting the graveyard scarcely an hour later, and Tonari invited Hinata to join him for tea. He had to make a stop by a temple beforehand, something about needing to stop his plan to destroy the world, which Hinata thought was a very good thing, but he did not keep her waiting for long. The macarons were one of the things inside the gift basket. Your friend Sakura, I'm glad she sent you to guide me there, said Tonari quietly, his pale blue eyes focused on the macarons. That letter and her gifts, it's greatly appreciated. Sakura-chan is a lovely young woman, Hinata gently encouraged. Yes. The eyes she gave me are pristine. I would like to meet her. When did you say she was coming? A few more days, answered Hinata. And she made these? Tonari asked as he took a bite of the macaron. Yes. Divine, he whispered. Yes, Hinata agreed. Speaking of divine, have you heard of harems? Scene change, Team 7. Tsunade addressed behind her desk. Her hands were steepled together in front of her. It has come to my attention that Hinata Hyuga has been kidnapped. Rescue her. What? Hinata was kidnapped? That's insane. I'm so worried about her, Naruto said with great exaggeration that it was plainly obvious he was lying. We'll rescue her, Sasuke said, accepting the mission with a solemn air. Good. Oh, and by the way, congratulations are in order. Tsunade smiled at me. Congrats, Sakura-chan. I wish you nothing but a lifetime of happiness. I beamed. Thanks, Shisho. Kakashi cleared his throat. Hokage-sama? Yes. Congrats to you as well, Kakashi. What? Now get out, Tsunade said dismissively. Shizune entered the office, then holding their pet pig. Shizune held the door open for us and smiled. I'm glad I caught you all before you left for the missions. Congratulations. Thank you, I said. Kakashi's brow creased with concern. Scene change, back with Hinata. And that was how Sakura-chan rescued the current feudal lord of spring. Hinata concluded the story. She figured being a good wingman meant bragging about Sakura a lot. She had plenty of stories to tell, and thankfully Tonari was a good listener. Fascinating, said Tonari. He had a very soft voice. It reminded Hinata of Itachi, actually. The Uchiha had a gentle way of speaking that Hinata admired. She found it surprising that such a sweet soul could ever become a missing nin, even if it was for the sake of Konoha and his beloved younger brother. The Akatsuki were actually an interesting bunch. When she was a child, Hinata would have never guessed she'd become good friends with missing nin. Itachi, Kisame, and Sasori were regulars in her life, and all of them treated her courteously. Or in Sasori's case, courteous as one puppet could be. She was not as close to the other members as Sakura and Naruto. She knew Naruto was close to Nagato and Konan. The four of them would have dinner together whenever the Amigakure leaders visited Konoha, and she had heard through Ino that Haiden was flourishing in Tni. Kakuzu only visited Konoha a few times in the year and remained in the land of spring the rest of the time. One visit for the Harem anniversary party that Sakura threw, the second during the audit for Sakura's bakery, and the third during the Rina festival. He was a curt man with a no-nonsense attitude. The last living member Deidara was a nomad. He spontaneously visited whenever his muse permitted it, although he had made it a point to show up for the harem anniversary parties. Hinata didn't know him well enough to form an opinion. It didn't help that Sasori constantly complained how much of a cheeky brat he was with a horrible sense of taste. Would you like to hear another story? Hinata offered. Yes, thank you, Tonari murmured. Hinata pondered her choices. She then smiled. I'll tell you about our Chunin exams. The exams are divided into 3 sections. The first part was monitored by Konoha's head of torture and interrogation, a very scary man named Ibiki. Scene change. Hey! Congrats, Sakura! Ino called out as our team made its way to the gate. She and her team were gathered together, likely for a team meeting or training. Thanks, Ino, I said, waving at her. Kakashi, you must be so happy, Ino added. Not falling for it, Kakashi said sternly. Let's move. Congrats, Kakashi, called out Asuma. No, scene change. It took a couple of days to reach Tonari's palace. Finding the right portal to teleport all of us was a bit trickier than I remembered. Then again, I didn't make it this far very often. Only in Miwako's life, and she and Kurama ultimately sacrificed themselves to save Boruto. Miwako was too dependent on Kurama's chakra, and Naruto needed all of it at that moment. How could I not make the sacrifice? So while Miwako did partake in the quest to face Tonari, she didn't see the end of Boruto. That was a special privilege only Mia held so far, which was admittedly likely because she lived as a civilian. A civilian who was heavily protected by Obito and many powerful people. I hoped I'd get through it this time. Since I knew what was coming, I was much better prepared to deal with the upcoming threats. Regressing, we eventually made our way to the moon, where Tonari lived in his big empty palace with 100 puppets. The poor lonely boy. All right, since we're here, I need to do a quick change. Be right back, I said. Naruto, Sai, and Sasuke nodded in understanding. Kakashi looked up at the world above us. We're on the moon. The world is our sky. And yet the fact that she feels the need to change is what fills me with dread. Congrats, Naruto whispered. Why are you congratulating me? It took me a minute to get changed. I returned wearing my wedding dress and holding a bouquet. Kakashi buried his face in his hands. Why? Because today's my special day. I'm coming for that Tonari booty, I said. We are not getting wait, what? Kakashi stared at me. Hina-chan's my wingman of honor, I said. Softening him up yet? Now it's time to finish the job. I'll steal the wedding and make it mine. What? Kakashi whispered in horror. Naruto, Sai, and Sasuke clapped for me. We're so happy for you, Sasuke dryly said, his voice rich with sarcasm. Sai said, we hope your friendship won't end in a betrayal or premature death, like too many do. I sniffled. This is the happiest day of my life. Sane, Naruto agreed, nodding along. What? Kakashi repeated. Congratulations, Naruto and Sasuke said, patting my back. Thanks, guys. Kakashi as the officiant, what? He whispered again. Yeah, said Naruto. What else did you think we were congratulating the two of you for? Sasuke smirked. What kind of impression were you under, Kakashi? Kakashi trailed off, a despondent look in his eyes. His shoulders slumped. I don't know. I skipped off and promptly kicked the front doors down. I object. I cried out as the massive doors fell to the floor. Me too. Naruto exclaimed. That's my waifu. And that's my husbando. I said. Come to me, Tonari. I'll treat you well. To my surprise, we were not interrupting a wedding, nor was there an army of puppets we had to fight like last time. In the entrance hall, Tonari and Hinata awaited us. Neither were dressed for a wedding. "Huh," I said. "No wedding? You're not going to try to marry Hina-chan?" I was Tonari explained with a smile, but I chose a different bride. I squealed. "Woohoo! Let's be friends, please join my harem." Tonari's smile widened. "Thank you for the eyes, thank you for the truth, and thank you for this offer. I feel comfortable to accept." Yay! I cheered and ran forward with my arms outstretched. Tonari was surprised at my sudden hug attack but took like a champ. "You should come with us, Tonari. You've been up here for so long, why not make some more friends? Why not stay here instead?" He politely offered. "Sorry dear," I apologized. "I'll be your waifu, but I can't stay to be your wife. Besides, wouldn't it be nice to be surrounded by a lot of people who like you instead of just one?" "I suppose that does sound nice." Tonari glanced behind him at his solitary castle. "It does," I insisted. "Come on, you can stay at Hina-chan's place." "He can?" Hinata blinked. Then she smiled. "He can. Come, Tonari-san, let me introduce you to my little sister. We can go to Sa-chan's bakery in the mornings together with Naruto-kun. With more of those macarons? So many more." Tonari's entire demeanor brightened. "Okay." And that was how I secured alien booty for the harem. The wedding boutique wasn't as relevant for the Tonari part, but it was essential for what came next. See, after we made it back to Konoha, Naruto decided to take Tonari under his wing and give him a grand tour of Konoha. Sai and Sasuke felt threatened about their position as Naruto's best brothers, so they were obligated to tag along to establish dominance, and Hinata had to head home to reassure her family she was fine. Kakashi and I were the last ones standing near the front gates of Konoha. I didn't have any particular reason to run off. It was very late by the time we got back and I wasn't tired in the least bit. Plus, I liked being in a wedding dress. It was neat. I wanted to savor it. Kakashi lingered, his gaze fixated on the moon we were once on. "You do look nice," said Kakashi. "I'm sorry I didn't mention it before." I turned quickly to him, my dress twirling with me. I beamed and reached up to cup his left cheek. "Thank you." "Congratulations," he said softly, "for your new member." "Hee hee. Thank you. Although I am a wee bit sad, you know." "How come?" "I'm in a pretty dress and no one has swept me off my feet, not once." I dramatically sighed. "Heartbreaking, really." Kakashi let out a quiet heh. He bent down and picked me up bridal style. He did an honorary spin. "There now," he said. "Can't be sad anymore." "Don't like me sad?" I teased, bumping my forehead against his. "I always want you to be happy," he said. "Even if I drive you mad?" He chuckled. "Even then. As long as you're happy, I'm happy." "Kakashi, I really want to kiss you now." His eyes crinkled into that famous eye smile. I bent my head and tugged down his mask. And as the snow started to fall again that chilly winter night, we shared our first of many kiss. The end.
Thank you for your views, likes, subscriptions, and overall support of my ongoing efforts to bring great content to all of you. Check out my Patreon for more mature fanfiction. The link is in the description and like everywhere on my channel.